The History of Bismarck Parks on History Talk, where we step back through local history to explore the people, places, and events that shaped our community. History Talk streams exclusively Thursdays at 10 a.m. on KFYR+. The first community green spaces located in Bismarck were private ventures. It could be argued that Bismarck's first park was Depot Park, developed alongside the replacement train depot in 1901. The park was owned by Northern Pacific and located on the present-day parking lot to the depot's north. The same is said for Mandan, where a similar depot park surrounded its depot. A bronze statue of former President Theodore Roosevelt was installed there on July 4, 1924, to the depot's east, and relocated to its present-day location upon completion of a new depot in 1930. The park adjacent to the former Mandan depot is today named for Robert Dykeshorn, one of Mandan's most noted mayors, who is credited with preserving the former train depot. Heading back to Bismarck, efforts to establish a city park came to a head in 1909, spearheaded by the Women's Community Council, who beautified two vacant lots on the corner of 5th Street and Main Avenue. That same year, the Civic Improvement League, who previously coordinated with Northern Pacific Railway to embellish Depot Park, agreed to secure a plot of land for a permanent city park, later dedicated as Custer Park. Land was obtained in 1910 for $585, $100 of which was donated by Colonel C.B. Little. It initially consisted of 4 acres between Washington Street and what was then called West Park Street, now West Custer Park Street, and Main Avenue to Rosser. A small lake was originally planned but never implemented. Oscar Will donated 100 trees to be planted that spring. In October, a landscape architect was hired to design a plan for the park. Over the next 4 years, more than $1,000 of improvements were made to the park, including 400 trees, 150 shrubs, water pipes, walking paths, and a retaining wall along Rosser Avenue. By 1915, the city employed a caretaker for Custer Park. Between 1915 and 1919, the city funded another $1,400 towards the park. Today, Custer Park is most recognized for its eagle statue that was dedicated there in 1988 to commemorate the bicentennial of the United States Constitution.
Tom Neary spent day and night this past week welding pieces of stainless steel together to make the pin feathers of an eagle's head. By September, the sculpture will move from Neary's shop in Washburn to the center of Custer Park in Bismarck. The Park Board has commissioned, and the Bismarck Eagles are sponsoring the sculpture as a monument to the bicentennial of the U.S. Constitution. Once complete, the gigantic sculpture will measure 15 feet in length, have a wingspan of 32 feet, and weigh 4 to 5 tons. Though heavy, the sculpture will simulate the airy feel of an eagle in flight.
A nice, peaceful, just a nice, peaceful glide is what it's going to be. A real turning, gentle glide.
Bismarck's first public swimming pool, named for the local Elks Club, who was its chief sponsor, was constructed in 1921, adjacent to Custer Park. The original pool was 100 feet by 100 feet, ranging in depths from 3.5 feet to 12. The Park Board authorized replacing the original pool for an estimated $2.5 million in 2004. Bismarck once had a swimming hole in the area near 16th Street Park, described then as the East Side Wading Pool, located in the, quote, East Broadway Recreation Area. There are references to other wading pools around the city back in the day as well, provided as a service to keep residents cool during the hot summer months, at a time when air conditioning wasn't common. These were in no means full-size swimming pools on the likes of Elks or Hillside. The establishment of Custer Park was the start of what would eventually become Bismarck Parks and Recreation, which was formally established in 1927. That same year, Kiwanis and Tatley Eagles Parks were dedicated. The earliest effort to establish what was then called East End Park commenced in early 1928, when the park board purchased $3,000 worth of lots east and north of Richelton School, with options for an additional $7,000. Later, the Bismarck Park Board leased the land from St. Mary's Cemetery Association for 99 years at a cost of $1. Cemeteries, by the way, were popular green spaces prior to formal parks being established. By summer 1928, roughly 1,000 trees were planted in what was officially penned Hillside Park, including 400 elms and another 400 to 500 cottonwoods and box elders. Plans for a swimming pool at Hillside Park were first unveiled in 1950. A 27-member finance committee was appointed in 1953 to raise funds for the anticipated $175,000 swimming pool, which would be the park district's second pool after the Elks. Citizens overwhelmingly approved a $5 million levy to finance its construction on April 6, 1954. Construction commenced in 1956. By this time, the estimated cost had risen to $250,000 to $300,000 for the main pool, diving area, a waiting area, and a 2-story bathhouse. The bathhouse was originally intended to include a dance floor for year-round use, but year-round use of the facility would not be achieved until its 2015 renovation, nearly 60 years later. A $180,000 12-foot high, 360-foot-long looping water slide was approved in 1984 and opened on July 4, 1985. It was demolished in 2008 due to old age. The park began a major renovation project in 2009 as part of a district-wide $3.5 million park improvement fund. In 2015, the swimming pool was replaced along with a new water slide and upgraded at a cost of $4.5 million, while its locker and bath facility was also upgraded. Riverside Park first opened in 1928. It featured picnic tables in a children's park containing equipment furnished by the Kiwanis Club, a slide, swings, and teeter-totters. A tourist camp was located to its north, and an athletic field on the south. Today, it is better known by the name of its longtime sponsor, the Sertoma Club. The Super Slide amusement park became established there in 1967. The Dakota Zoo is situated adjacent to Sertoma Park, along the shores of the Missouri River. The zoo opened in 1961. Tom and Larry Park was first conceptualized in 1980 to include new amenities and expansion of the namesake golf course, then still a 9-hole course. The All Seasons Arena, today called the VFW Sports Center, was included as part of the broader Tom O'Leary Park plans. By July 1984, feasibility studies were completed and a council was formed to raise funds, which would be a mix of private and government financing. Construction cost was estimated at $4 million.
Volunteers from the hockey boosters, curlers, and figure skaters spent a lot of time putting in the piping for the artificial ice refrigeration system that made today's work possible. 10 miles of piping is under the cement. It's 85 feet wide with a pipe every 4 inches. The cement, which is 5 inches thick and 1 inch above the piping, will now have to cure for about 28 days, but the boosters are looking for a way to hopefully speed up this process. The next step is getting the financing for the compressors to create and maintain the artificial ice. They're planning on opening the arena with natural ice, and some cold temperatures will be needed to help. For now, the boards will come from the Civic Center, and it's expected to be ready to go by the end of January. The All Seasons Arena will seat about 2,000 and will live up to its name. Come spring, look for 4 tennis courts, a volleyball court, areas for softball and golf practice with nets, and even some indoor track and field.
Architectural designs commenced in November 1984. The Bismarck City Commission authorized $1 million in MITRE funds in early 1985. Construction commenced that May. Borrowing scoreboards from the Civic Center, youth hockey first skated there in February 1986, while construction still continued. The Winter Sports and Recreation Show, held October 31st through November 1st, essentially opened the arena to the public.
December 30th, 1985, the All Seasons Arena gets its floor as the coils have been laid by the volunteer crew and the cement goes down. By February 1986, it's cold enough outside for natural ice inside, so the arena floor is flooded and the Civic Center boards are in use. A surcharge on all the user groups, hockey players, figure skaters, and curlers, will pay for a 5-year lease on the compressors for the artificial ice, the boards, and the Zamboni. The first big event will be the Bismarck Century Hockey Game on Friday the 13th, and Peluso hopes a lot of people will come out to see the progress at the All Seasons Arena.
By the time the center was dedicated in November 1987, the decision was made to name it in honor of VFW Post 1326, a major donor. An 85 by 200 foot second ice sheet was added to the north in 1999 for about $1.8 million. Along with the sports arena, construction commenced on upgrading Tom O'Leary Golf Course from 9 holes to 18. A sledding hill and walking trails were also added. Mandan's first municipal swimming pool, which was described as a, quote, natural pool, was formed by damming the Heart River in 1932. 2 years later, Mandan dedicated its World War Memorial Building in October 1934. The basement contained what was then North Dakota's largest indoor swimming pool. The pool was filled in sometime in the 1960s. Mandan opened an outdoor pool in the summer 1950. It was located at 206th Avenue Northeast, directly south of Custer Elementary. It remained there until at least the 1980s before it was filled in and turned into park space. Planning for a Mandan Pool Auditorium complex began on January 12, 1968, when the Park Board began exploring federal funding to construct such a facility. The project was scrapped the following month after discovering that the 1% bond limit that the district could impose would not be sufficient financing. Soon after, a citizens committee organized a drive to increase the park district's mill levy by 6 mills. In 1970, voters narrowly approved the measure by a margin of only 18 votes. Another election held on December 19, 1972, to authorize a $495,000 bond measure was overwhelmingly approved with an 84% majority. Ground for the complex was broken in June 1973. A ribbon-cutting ceremony commenced on January 15, 1975, and the facility celebrated its grand opening in February. Originally, the center boasted a 150-foot by 140-foot gymnasium auditorium and 2 mezzanines to complement the swimming pool area, which consisted of a main L-shaped pool and separate diving pool. A water slide was added in 1990. It was the first indoor water slide in North Dakota. The original 3-loop 144-foot slide has since been replaced. In 2011, work completed on transforming the former gymnasium, auditorium, and mezzanine into classroom and office space for the school district, as well as a smaller gymnasium and carpentry shop. Raging Rivers is a Mandan water park featuring several water slides and a lazy river, along with an adjacent miniature golf course. Originally a private venture, the city of Mandan acquired the facility for $2.25 million in 2009 and converted it into the new Mandan Community Center. Mandan approved Raging Rivers in April 1999. And construction commenced in the spring of 2000. It was expected to open on July 4th of that year, but construction delays pushed back its opening multiple times. Raging Rivers and the accompanying Speed World Golf and Games didn't open until July 19th, 2001. As of 2023, Bismarck Parks and Recreation oversees 61 community parks and 53 playgrounds. It would be quite exhaustive to include a timeline of every one of those 61 parks, but here's a partial timeline. That was a look at some of Bismarck-Mandan's park history. I invite you to check out my 2 Bismarck history books. They are available to purchase on Amazon and select local bookstores. Copies are also available at the Bismarck Public Library. Visit bismarckbook.com for more information. Next, we'll learn about political boss Alexander Mackenzie. Is there a local history topic you'd like to learn about? Email historytalk@kfyrtv.com. History Talk streams exclusively Thursdays at 10 a.m. on KFYR+.